Okay, so now we're moving on to analyzing essays. And as you can see, this first descriptive essay is a description of a person, and it's titled My Brother. So before we get started, if you need to, please pause the video now, take some minutes to read the essay so that you can come back to the analysis with a broad understanding of what it says, and so that it becomes easier for you to follow. And there's one more thing too before we begin. Throughout this analysis, I'm going to be proposing some questions that you will see on video or on the screen. Whenever you see the questions, please pause the video and either by yourself or with your classmates or with your teacher, depending on the setting you're in, answer the questions to the best of your knowledge. It doesn't matter if your answers are not 100% right. The goal is to get us to think about the text and to think about the organization of the essay itself. And then when you're ready, you can click back and continue the video so that we can have this back and forth and this interactive analysis so that you're just not listening to the video all the time. So let's get started and jump straight ahead to the analysis of the whole essay. So here are the questions. We have two questions for you. The first one is, how many paragraphs are there in the essay? Easy, right? And then the second question, what is each paragraph about? So please answer the questions either by yourself, with your teacher, or with your classmates. Remember to pause the video so you can engage in a discussion if necessary. When you're ready, click back and continue. Okay, so let's think about the whole essay very quickly. The first question that we discussed is, how many paragraphs are there in the essay? Well, that seems, that's actually a very easy question, right? But it's here for a reason. Well, there's 4 paragraphs. And there's 4 paragraphs, and each paragraph has a purpose, right? The first paragraph is the introduction. The second and third paragraphs are body paragraphs. And the last one is a conclusion, is the conclusion of the essay. So why does this essay have 4 paragraphs? Well, for a couple of reasons. Normally, when people start writing essays of a certain genre, they start writing 5-paragraph essays. We decided to keep it 4 paragraphs because we wanted this video to not be too long. And also because when you add an extra paragraph, you would be adding, in this case, a third body paragraph to the essay. So if you know how to write 1 or 2 body paragraphs, you can add a third one. You would just have to add another element to be described, or maybe provide a more detailed description of one of the elements and divide that description into 2 paragraphs. It really depends on the essay, but we're not going to get to that now. So this is basically the overview of the essay's organization. So what is each paragraph about? So the introduction, of course, introduces the topic and usually highlights 1 or 2 elements that the writer will describe in more detail in the subsequent paragraphs. And that's actually what the writer does here, because the next body paragraph provides details on Alex's physical traits, which is followed by another body paragraph which provides details on Alex's personality. Right? That's basically the function of the body paragraphs. The conclusion basically restates the main topics discussed in the essay very briefly, but doesn't stop there. The conclusion also provides a thought or a reflection or a suggestion or a recommendation. We're going to see what it does in this particular essay when we look at the conclusion in more detail. But that's basically the job of conclusions in descriptive essays. So that's basically an overview of the whole essay. Okay, so our analysis of paragraph 1 also includes 2 questions, and the questions are: which sentence introduces and justifies the topic of the essay to readers? And what 2 elements about Alex will the writer focus on in his or her description? Please feel free to go over the paragraphs, highlight those elements that point to the answers if you need to. Again, discuss with your teacher or your classmates or by yourself. Pause the video. When you're ready, then continue. All right, so let's move right into the introduction, the analysis of our introduction. So the questions you have discussed, first one is, Which sentence introduces and justifies the topic of the essay to readers? Well, as you have discussed yourself, you probably concluded that it's the first sentence. And how does the first sentence do that? Well, first of all, it says that the essay is about Alex, so introduces the topic. What about the justification? Well, when the writer adds the relative clause or the clause who has influenced me a lot, the writer is not just introducing the topic, but also telling readers why he or she decided to write about Alex. This device or this strategy is called a hook. The writer is trying to get the reader interested in the topic or trying to grab the reader's attention to the fact that this is not just any essay on any person. This is an essay on someone who's important to me. Of course, hooks can be a lot more elaborate than this, and they should be more elaborate than this in some essays. But this is just to give you a taste of the writer not only trying to introduce a topic, but also trying to make it interesting to readers or make the reader curious about what he or she is going to write about. In question number 2, what 2 elements about Alex will the writer focus on in his or her description? Well, the first one is his physical description or his physical traits, right? And the second one, even though the writer says that Alex has helped him or her shape his or her personality, we know that the way Alex was able to do this is through his personality himself. So the writer is signaling here also that he or she will provide a description of Alex's personality. It's kind of an indirect signal, but it is a signal. So those 2 elements point to the body paragraphs, as we are going to see in our subsequent analysis, that the writer will provide more details on Alex's physical description and Alex's description or Alex's personality, let's put it this way, so that the writer can explain how Alex's personality helped shape his own or her own personality. Okay, so now here are the questions for body paragraph 1, or the second paragraph in the whole essay. Number 1, what details about Alex's physical description does the writer provide in the paragraph? And number 2, how different is the last sentence in the paragraph from the rest of this paragraph? Again, pause for discussion or for thinking. When you're ready, click back and continue. All right, so moving on to body paragraph 1, or the second paragraph in the essay. What details about Alex's physical description does the writer provide? Well, we're not going to highlight them in color here, but we're just going to highlight them with the cursor quickly so that you can follow. Let's get them in the sequence, in the same sequence in which they appear, right? So Alex is a relatively tall man, so tall, 6 feet tall, early 30s, still looks young for his age, average weight, dark short hair, face is roundish but thin, likes to wear casual clothes, like shorts and t-shirts, right? You have here a description of what he likes to wear and the fact that he probably looks young, has a youthful appearance, right? So you see quite a few details about Alex's appearance or physical traits. Number 2, how different is the last sentence from the rest of the paragraph? Well, the last sentence is interesting, and I'm going to highlight actually the 2 last sentences. The second to last sentences, Alex has big brown eyes, a physical description, right, that reflect his tranquility and kindness. Again, a physical description that links to a psychological trait. And then in the very last sentence, you see a pure psychological trait, or a trait of Alex's personality. He is communicative and sociable, but he also knows when to be silent and listen. So the writer in these 2 sentences is providing a bridge from body paragraph 1 to body paragraph 2, a bridge or a transition, by ending the first paragraph with a personality trait the writer is providing a transition to the next body paragraph, which will be about Alex's personality. It's just a good strategy to pay attention to, and which you can use in your own essay.